Hello guys, so it is my first YouTube video ever. So a client brought this beautiful style for me to recreate for her. So let's do this together. Pardon my camera placement error. So she gave me this fine damask material to use in the recreation of the style. So since we are cutting a bustier dress, the very first thing you want to do is subtract your half length measurement, whatever you want to use. I want my own half length to be 18. You subtract it from your actual full measurement. Your full length measurement. After subtracting it, you are going to add your folding allowance and your seam allowance. So then we have this. The next thing you want to do is divide your waist measurements by 4. Whatever you have, place it on your line. Then you add your dart allowance and you add your seam allowance. The next thing is to go down to your hip area. I came down by 7.5. Some might even use 8. It depends on how tall the person is, and some might use 7. Divide your hip by 4. Place the measurement, then add your seam allowance. I added 1.5. The next thing is to locate my before knee area. Whatever measurements you have on your hip area, you subtract it by 1.5 and you place it on your before knee measurement. Then you go ahead to connect the lines together like so. So after connecting the line, you are going to measure your before knee area. Whatever measurements you have over there, you can subtract it by 1, 1.5, 2. It depends on how pencil the person wants it to be. So I subtracted mine. I subtracted 1 from mine, as you can see. Then you're going to connect it. You connect it back to your before knee area, like so. I even try to use my fabric pen to highlight it so you guys will see it very well. Sorry about my camera placement error. I'm not a pro yet. So the next thing I want to do now is come down by 1/2 inch on my waistline. That is going to be my waist slope. You know our waist is not actually straight. So now then I went ahead to cut after suspending it with pin so the cloth will not be shaking. I went ahead to cut. So after doing that, you can go ahead to cut your lining with these already. I believe you all know how to cut our lining with our fabric. So the next thing I want to do now is to cut the back. So in order to cut the back, you place it on the fabric and you are going to, add your zipper allowance. Normally, our zipper allowance should be around 1 inch, at most 1.5 inches. But then here, we are looking at 4 inches because of my slit. She wants her slit to lap, so we are going to be having an overlapping slit. So the height of our slit is the same length as that of our before nail. So I'll be using 1 for my zipper allowance, then I'll connect it to the height of my slit. After doing that, I'll go ahead to cut like so. I'm sorry you can't see that lower part very well. Then you're going to cut open the slit part that is going to lap. Then you go ahead to cut. So after cutting, you take it to your lining and cut on the lining. Then you go ahead to line your skirt area of the dress. Yeah, this is actually very easy. Then look at me cutting off the slope that I put on the waist of the front. That is that. The next thing I want to do now is take care of our upper bustier. The half length. This is where the work is. So the first thing you want to do is to measure the length of your bustier. After measuring the length, which I'm doing like so, you are going to go ahead to locate your breast point. You go ahead to locate your under bust like so. Then you are going to rule out the line and label it like so. Yeah, label it too. It is important you label. The next thing you want to do is divide your nipple to nipple by 2 and measure it. Then you connect. Now I want to measure my back. Her back is 8, then my neck is 3, So in order to get our armhole, I mean our chest line, you divide your bust by 6 and add 1.5 to it. Whatever you have is your chest line area. It is very accurate. So now we have our armhole already. You come down for your shoulder slope by 1, then you connect it to your neck. So whatever you have left, divide it by 2 and come in by 0.5 inches in order to reduce the armhole crease, so the thing will not be bulging. So for that lower part, I think I used 2. I used 2 inches for the dart. So on one side I use 0.75 and on the other side I use 1.25. Then you connect it to your bust point. You can see the smaller part is 0.75 while the bigger part is 1.25. Some can use 1 by 1, some can use 1.5 by 1.5. I just felt like doing it this way. It is your choice. So now she wants the depth of her corset to be 8. It is going to come up very well. She does not want it to reveal anything at all. And then we are going to start the corset from 6.5. So I've gone ahead to measure my, what is it called, my shoulder slope. I divided by 2, then I connected the point to my bust point, and I went ahead to remove my to tighten my upper bust by 2, one on this side and one on the other side. So now I'm trying to draw out the shape of my cup. Yeah. For you to see very well, I'm going to use my highlighting pen to highlight it for you to see. Like so. So now I'm going to go ahead to measure my waist area divided by 4. I'll add the 2 inches that I removed, then I'll add my seam allowance. I did the same thing for my bust area. I divided it by 4. I added my seam allowance, and the darts that will be removed, I added it too. So the next thing now is to shape the cup area. As you can see, the cup is big. That's how she wants it. So now you are going to go ahead to measure this place that I'm measuring to know if it is equal, so you won't have a problem of one side being shorter or longer than the other. So after measuring mine, I think there's a shortage around this area, so I'm going to take care of the shortage by increasing it and connecting it to my actual measurements, like so. So by the time I'm sewing, I won't have any issue of one being longer than the other. So now I want to shape the neck of my yoke. I've already shaped the neck of my yoke. So but because I've actually touched the yoke and I have to like place another pattern paper underneath it and use my wheel tracer to trace out a new yoke. You know, when cutting, that place that I extended up will be affected. So in order to save me the stress, I will draw out my yoke before cutting. So I'm using my wheel tracer to trace out the actual yoke. So yeah, I'm using my pen to highlight it so people can see. So after doing that, I'm going to go ahead and label it my yoke. Then I'm going to go ahead to cut it and set it aside. Okay, that is for my front yoke. So the next thing I want to do now is label my patterns before I cut. Then you can go ahead to cut like so. Be careful while you are cutting, and don't forget, so you're not going to mistakenly cut what you're not supposed to cut. So I'll extend it up as you can see, and you label it, and you cut the other side of the cup too. Now, yeah, I'm trying to even measure my armhole so I would know what I'll be needing for my sleeve. All I just need to do now is just add my seam allowance to whatever measurement I got after measuring the armhole, then I'm good to go. So you go ahead to complete your cutting like so. And label it. Please, the labeling is important so you won't get yourself confused. And please make sure you keep all of those patterns close so you won't misplace any of them. You can, because of that, you can have to even start all over again. So now the next thing is to cut on our fabric. I'll be adding my seam allowance. In order to join the cup, we need seam allowance so it won't affect our actual measurements. So look at me adding my seam allowance, 1/2 inch at most. It depends on what you are doing, but for what I'm doing, I just need 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Then you go ahead to cut it out like so. Remember, I already added my seam allowance, my side seam allowance to the pattern, so I won't be adding any seam allowance. If you are the type that does not do that, you would have to add your seam allowance. So next is to cut my center front. Sorry for using my phone to hold. Then you add your seam allowance of 1/2 inch like so. Then you go ahead to cut. And please don't forget, you are going to be using the fabric to cut your lining and your hairstay. You suspend it with pin as well so you won't get rid of it. Add your seam allowance of 1/2 inch. Yeah, the upper part is somewhat around 0.25. I don't want it to be that big. Then you go ahead to cut. And note, you'll be using this pattern to cut out your cup. Yes, if you are using a ready-made cup, you are good to go. But if you want to do with wadi, you know, some people use wadi to cut their cup. I want to use wadi to cut this cup though. That is a homemade cup. So you are going to use this pattern to cut your cup. You sew the cup, then you are going to, you know, attach it to your fabric. Yeah, you keep cutting like so, and you suspend it with pin. So now we are back to the back. So in order to cut the back, I won't be using any pattern paper. I just want to draft it like this. We all know how to draft a normal basic bodice. So now I've gone ahead to do my armhole, my shoulder slope. You can see my zipper allowance is even there. Then I measured my actual half length measurements, and I've actually shaped everything out. Next thing I want to do now is determine the depth of my neck at the back. So I think 8 is okay for her. So I don't really like the shape that this is giving me, so I changed the roller. You know, we want a V shape now, so I like the way this thing is looking. So I think we are done for that. I labeled it yoke. Make sure you label too. You suspend it with pin in case the thing shakes. So go ahead to cut. Don't forget your zipper allowance. So yes, cut it like so. And then you go to the armhole, you cut your armhole. And you know, cut it like that. I went ahead to cut my shoulder slope too. Then you are going to detach the yoke from the bodice. Keep it in order to use it to cut on your net or whatever fabric you want to use. So remember, I said I measured my armhole measurement, so I added seam allowance to it and used it to cut my sleeve. So the next thing now is to cut net for my yoke. This is what the fabric I'm using for my yoke. I added 0.5 inch of seam allowance, then I cut it out on the lower part, as you can see. Then I cut it out. So I've gone ahead to cut my cup. I use wadi, then I use hairstay, I ironed the stay to the fabric, and after sewing everything and everything, guys, this is a beautiful thing I created. Oh, I hope you love it. Please comment, please subscribe to my channel. I love you all, and I hope to do more of this with you. I'm a beginner. Let's grow together. Thank you.